Nashville, Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with J-JK47 and Big Easy. Baseball season is on the horizon. We're going to talk about the Boston Red Sox and how much they're going to suck again this season.
I don't know about that, man. We'll have to see. I mean,
Garbage.
They made a big signing, a big trade, and, I mean, they're hoping for a couple of rebound seasons here out of their corner infielders.
I dropped a big deuce earlier today. That doesn't mean good things are on the horizon.
Who's their big signing?
Well, their big signing is starting pitcher David Price. They signed for 7 years. Obviously, this is an immediate ace they're putting in their rotation. However, 47 mentioned before he doesn't pitch very well in the playoffs, so that doesn't bode well for Boston. But, I mean, putting Price at the top of the rotation is a huge move. Now, they signed outfielder Chris Young. Like I said, he was playing for New York last year. They brought him in to be a fourth outfielder for him. They signed outfielder Brennan Bosch to a minor league contract, see if he can make the team out of spring training. And they just signed reliever Carlos Marmol to a minor league deal as well. See if he can make the team. This was a one-time closer. Obviously, he hasn't pitched well over the past year or two. They're going to see if they can get him back pitching like he used to. I don't know if he can pitch quite that good, but I believe he could be a good arm in the bullpen for him, possibly.
Well, just like adding that stud at the front of the rotation, they also did it big for the back end, too, getting Craig Kimbrell in the trade. So, I mean, he's instantly gives them a stud closer.
Yeah, they brought him over from San Diego. Obviously, he did his biggest things with the Atlanta Braves, but they gave up 4 prospects for Craig Kimbrell, and including Manuel Margot, who is a very good prospect. So I think San Diego did a good job getting rid of Kimbrell because, I mean, he was costing them a lot of money. They really didn't have the team that they thought they put together last season. And, I mean, he had to go somewhere. And I think Boston did a great job in bringing him in. And I really like what they have going on right now. I mean, they do have questions in the rotation. You got David Price at the top, like we said. There's not really a question there. But right now, their number 2 is Clay Buchholz. And then they got Rick Porcello, who didn't pitch very well last season. Eduardo Rodriguez, a young guy who has a ton of upside, but he was tipping his pitches last season. He threw his fastball too much last season. And Joe Kelly, they have at the back end here, a guy that really didn't pitch well last season. Stephen Wright, not really a great pitcher. They do have Henry Owens, a young guy. He at one time was expected to be a number 1 type pitcher. Now I think more of a number 3 type pitcher at best. I don't know if he's going to give that to him this season or not. And then you got Ronis Elias you could pitch in the rotation as well. So they have options in the rotation. I'm just not sure. Well, first of all, Buchholz has to stay healthy. And if he does stay healthy, is he going to be a very good pitcher like he was last season when he was healthy? Or is he going to pitch bad like he usually does when he stays healthy? That's a big question right there. But, I mean, you're going to have to get more out of Porcello. Eduardo Rodriguez is going to have to step up and pitch like a number 3, I would have to believe, at least. Possibly a number 2 if Buchholz doesn't come through. And then Joe Kelly at the back end of the rotation. There's nothing wrong there for now. I mean, they can make a move at the deadline if they really, really had to. But I think Henry Owens could step in and be one of those guys as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of options here. But there's also a lot of questions in this rotation outside of Price as well.
Yeah, but that's more solid in New York's rotation, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends. Is Buchholz going to stay healthy? That's the same thing you're asking yourself with Tanaka and Pineda. I mean, the one thing is Price is a guy that has been able to stay healthy for the most part. Now, you look at New York, and their number 1 pitcher is Tanaka, a guy that decided not to have Tommy John surgery, and he came back and he pitched pretty well, but is his arm going to hold up? That's a big question right now. I would say, I think it depends. I mean, if this comes together correctly, then Boston has the better rotation. But I mean, there's a chance that New York's rotation can come together too. But I would give it to Boston at this point. Yeah. Same with you, 47.
I said earlier on during the Blue Jays segment that I want Boston to win this division.
But what do you think about this rotation?
What do I think about the rotation?
Yes.
I mean, I like Price and Buchholz at the top. I mean, Joe Kelly, I mean, who knows? I mean, this is a good-looking pitcher who just can't seem to, really put it together for a full season.
Porcello got to have a bounce back, too, like I was saying.
He was better in the second half of last year.
And what about Eduardo Rodriguez, man. What do you think about this guy?
Well, I mean, I really liked him initially, but I mean, like you said earlier, I mean, he likes to tip off his pitches, needs to work a little bit on his breaking stuff a little bit.
Right. I think he could be as high as the number 2 pitcher. He's obviously not going to take over David Price as the number 1 on this team. But if Buck Holtz did fail this season, I think Eduardo Rodriguez could pitch well enough to be that number 2. So in the end, I mean, I think they have 3 pitchers if everything went right that are really good, and then you have to see what you get out of Porcello and Kelly at the back end. But like I said, you got Henry Owens, and you have another prospect here, Brian Johnson. He pitched very well in AAA last season, had a 2.53 ERA, 90 Ks compared to 32 walks and 90 innings pitched. They called him up to the big leagues, made one start, hurt his elbow, was done for the season. So he really didn't get a chance in the rotation last year. But he's a good-looking lefty that I think can fit into this rotation well. And if everything goes right, I think this rotation by the end of the season could look good from 1 through 5. But Owens has to step up, and Brian Johnson would have to stay healthy and come into this rotation for that to happen, I believe. There's a couple guys like Joe Kelly, Stephen Wright, and Ronis Elias I just don't believe can stick in this rotation long term. But then you look offensively. I mean, the questions here to me are in the outfield. Now, you got Mookie Betts in right field. I think this is an MVP candidate this season. I think he really has a chance to blow up this season. I mean, we seen last year he really had a breakout year already. This guy's still very young. He's one of the best players in baseball, if you ask me. But the other 2 outfielders, I mean, Jackie Bradley Jr. had one good month last year, albeit fantastic month. I think it was August. He completely blew up, but then he fell apart in September as well. And this is a guy that really hasn't shown anything out of that 1 month. So there's a lot of questions they have in center field. But like I said, Chris Young, a pretty good 4th outfielder. They have Brock Holt out there still. He could play in the outfield some. You can move Betts to center field too. So it's not like you'd have to play Brock Holt in center field. And Rusney Castillo, a guy that a Cuban defector that everybody thought was going to be able to hit from day one.
Cuba!
And he really hasn't. He has not hit yet, and he really has to break out. I don't even think he had a 300 on-base percentage last season. That's how bad he was, and they're trusting this guy to be their starter. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I think Jackie Bradley Jr., he's a good enough fielder where if his bat doesn't produce like it was supposed to coming out of the minors, because, I mean, this guy was a top 50 prospect at one point, but there was always something I questioned about him where I didn't think he would be able to hit in the bigs. He showed it in August, like I said, but that's all he showed it in. So I got questions in the outfield, but in the infield, I mean, there is questions. Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval at first and third base. Obviously, Hanley Ramirez at first is a huge question defensively, but I do think he's going to bounce back offensively this season. And I think Sandoval can bounce back. I never liked Sandoval, first of all, but I think he's better than what he showed last season. He's
Pablo, first of all.
Pablo, first of all.
Hanley being a first
Pablo,
base
first of all, you're
would be
garbage.
interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, they have Travis Shaw, too. Travis Shaw was a young guy they called up last season. He has some serious power. He can hit for a good average, but he does K a little bit too much. So we'll have to see if he can show a good average in the major leagues or if that's just something he had in the minors. But, I mean, I like him as a backup, definitely. But Hanley Ramirez, I mean, you're right. We're really going to have to see what we get out of him at first base.
I mean, supposedly he's rededicated himself in the offseason, so...
That's great, but look, he was never a good shortstop. He was never a good third baseman. He was never a good outfielder. I mean, he only played one season there last year. He wasn't good. So, I mean, the chances of him being a good first baseman, he doesn't have to be a great first baseman. Just be average, and that's fine. But, I mean...
If you're a Major League Baseball player and you can't play first base, then you're garbage. Because it's not hard.
I agree with you,
man. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
They overrate it so bad.
I mean, I think it is overrated a little bit, but I think everybody agrees that it's the easiest position to learn. So Hanley does have a chance to learn this position and play to an average level. But, I mean, his past shows that he's just not a good fielder. I mean, that's all there is to it. And, I mean, you got Pedroia at second base. He's a great player. There's health questions with him. He's a little bit older. I'm not saying he's going to miss a full season or anything, but you could see him missing 15, 30 games, something like that. But, again, Brock Holt can play anywhere, so you have him as a backup. Xander Bogaerts, the biggest breakout player to me on this team last year, and really one of the few bright spots. I mean, you had Mookie Betts, David Ortiz, and Xander Bogaerts were the big bright spots offensively to me last year. And Bogaerts has really turned into one of the best shortstops in baseball in my mind.
Well, I mean, if Pedroia could stay healthy this year, I mean, you're looking at possibly the best middle infield in baseball, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, you could consider that. I kind of like Houston with Correa and
yeah.
Altuve. I mean, that's beast right there. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Bogarts and Pedroia, you got to like that. In fact, I look around the infield. I'll take Hanley Ramirez and Sandoval. I'll take my chances with them. And I think you got a good shot at having a good team here. We'll have to see what we get out of David Ortiz, too. I think it's time to agree that this guy's never going to fall off. Now, it's his last season. He's 40 years old, but he hit last year as well. So, I mean, there's no reason to believe he won't hit.
Well,
But, I mean, you might see him miss some time, too. I mean, there's seasons that he hit 250, 260, but he really always had the power. But last year, I mean, he even took it to another level with the power as well. Ortiz had a huge year last year, and I think you got to expect a downgrade this season from him just because of how well he played. But, I mean, a downgrade from what he did last year doesn't mean he's going to be a bad player at all. And then at catcher, you got Blake Swihart. You still got to see
Blake Swizzle.
Yep. I mean, he didn't break out last year like people hope, but this is one of the top catching prospects going into last year, and people believe he can still be one of the better hitting catchers in baseball.
He's another
Still
guy that
talking
had a
about
big
this
second
dude.
half. Well, not like huge.
Not big,
but
yeah.
He was really good, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy is going to be a good catcher. And I look around, I mean, I got questions in the outfield. Everything else I'm pretty happy with. Even the rotation, I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but I think this is enough to get it done. I mean, even if Swihart doesn't work out, Ryan Hannigan, a nice veteran backup you have there as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions, and it's not perfect, but I like the looks of what they have out there. And let's not forget the bullpen. Craig Kimbrell, Koji Uehara, and Junichi Tozawa. Great at the back end. And plus, you brought in Carson Smith in a trade as well. Did I mention the trades? They traded for Carson Smith and Ronis Elias from Seattle. They gave away Wade Miley in that deal, so they lost Wade Miley. Yeah, that's the one deal I
like
didn't mention.
Carson Smith in that bullpen, though.
Yeah, so they got 4 good relievers right there. So I love the back end of the bullpen here. Not even more than the back end of the bullpen. I mean, they got Matt Barnes, Heath Emery, Brandon Workman. They got some names out here in the bullpen. So even though the rotation has some questions, they'll be able to make up for it with this bullpen as well. So in the end, man, I'm looking at Boston, and I really think they have a good team. I mean, you got to get more out of Hanley and Pablo Sandoval. I think that's one of the biggest questions there are. Because even if Castillo doesn't hit, I mean, that's fine if Sandoval and Ramirez hit like they have over the years.
So they finished in last place last year, correct?
Finished in last place.
Right. So, I mean, it does take a lot, you would believe, to finish in last one year and then finish in first the next year.
I think they already did it once, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And it'd be impossible for them to do it again, in my opinion. That's why, I mean, we talk about Toronto and all that BS, but I could see them definitely competing for that wild card and, 2 in the division.
Yeah, I think it's going to be between the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox for that wild card spot. Like I was saying before, I think Boston's going to come up on top and take the wild card and come in second place in this division. I just like this offense too much. And plus, now you have the ace at the top of your rotation as well. A couple minor leaguers they have in the system as well. I mean, I love their minor league system. They have one of the best, if not the best, prospect second baseman in Yoan Moncada. He's probably not going to get caught up this year. I highly, highly doubt that. But they also have one of the best third baseman prospects as well in Rafael Devers. They have one of the top pitching prospects. Adrian Espinoza, I believe his name is. I might be wrong on the first name right now, but his last name is Espinoza. This guy looks like a beast, but he's only 17 years old as well. They just brought him into the system.
Cuba!
And another guy they just recently brought into the system, their first-round pick in 2015, 7th overall, Andrew Benintendi. This is an outfielder. He's kind of a smaller guy. I mean, he's not as small as Betts, but he is a small guy. He's left-handed. I think you're going to see him in 2017. I think he's going to race through this system. I don't think it's this year, but, I mean, there is a slight possibility of it. But, look, he hit .313 last year with the .346 on base, 11 jacks, 10 stolen bases, and 198 at-bats in a full. So, I mean, you put a full season together there, you got a 30-30 season on your hands. I really like this guy, and I think he's going to be a great outfielder for him. I just don't think it's going to be this season. And then there's a first baseman, Sam Travis, in case Hanley doesn't work out and Travis Shaw doesn't work out. Maybe 2017 for this guy too, but don't be surprised if you see him this season. Look, Here's what Boston did with him in the minors. They gave him 165 at-bats in A short. He hit 333 with a 364 on base. They gave him 107 at-bats in A full. He hit 290 with a 330 on base. 246 at-bats in A advanced. He hit 313 with a 378 on base. Then they moved him up to Double A, 243 at-bats. He hit 300 with a 384 on base. So you can see they're moving him real fast, not even giving him 300 at-bats at any level. This guy's moving very quick through the system. Now, he doesn't hit many home runs. He only has 16 through 761 career minor league at-bats, but he also only has 109 Ks. So this is a guy that can hit for a high average, doesn't K much, and there's a chance he grows into a little bit more pop as well. So I'm kind of liking Sam Travis. He's not a top prospect or anything, so you won't see him on any list or anything. But all he does is hit. And then they got a shortstop, Marco Hernandez. Obviously, he's not going to overtake Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, but he is a utility infielder, so you may see this guy playing around in the infield as a backup. He hit 305 with a 330 on base last season in Double A and Triple A, so he's definitely ready for the bigs and maybe a couple of bats in Triple A or whatever. But this guy should be on the Major League roster and get a chance at some point this season. All they lost, too, was starting pitcher Rich Hill, old guy, and they lost reliever Craig Breslow. So they really lost nothing from last season as well. And adding David Price and Craig Kimbrell, I mean, those are huge adds, and you need more out of Hanley and Pablo. What place you saying? What place did you say?
I said first.
You said first place.
Wild card.
Second place. I'm saying second place. Third place. You're saying
Yankees,
Toronto in second?
Yankees, Jays, Red Sox, Tampa Bay, Blackamore.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with most of that. I'm going to just flip. I'm going to say Toronto in first, and then Boston in second, Yankees in third, Baltimore. Well, no, Tampa in fourth, and Baltimore in fifth.
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing?
Boston.
Clarkamore fifth. We know that.
I'm going Boston, Toronto, New York, Tampa Bay, and Baltimore.
Baltimore. So we're all pretty close here.
Block show, Walter.
He's a good manager. I just
Best
don't think
uniforms though, black and orange all day.
But listen, in the end, I think Boston has a great chance to be an excellent team this season. They could even have the most wins in all of baseball this season if Pablo Sandoval and Hanley Ramirez can hit this season. Because, I mean, obviously Buchholz's got to stay healthy too, or that's going to hurt. But from what I see from him, I think they have an MVP, like I said, in Betts. And David Ortiz, he really hasn't fallen off over the years. I think they have some serious bats in this lineup and have some serious pitching too if things fall right.
Is that it?
That is it, man.
All the baseball news we got for today.
Believe it.
My brain feels like it's going to explode with useless baseball stats.
What do you mean useless?
Well, they're not useful to me. That's all.
Do you know who owns the Boston Red Sox? Your beat.
Don't care.
Yeah, who
Isn't
cares
it
about
John
owners,
Henry?
really?
Yeah, you care about Bob Nutting.
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about him, man.
You mop his floor at night.
I don't know what you're talking about. Listen, he spends 42...
He guards Bob Nutting's wallet. That's
Yeah.
what he does.
Listen, I just don't... I mean,
With samurai swords.
he's spending 42% of the revenue this season, and 42% is exactly league average.
Good,
So, I mean...
good.
Right,
Okay.
but
What
the
it
problem
what it is.
is when Nutting and Huntington took over, they said that payroll would keep pace with revenue. And
But
that
look-
hasn't. Revenue is climbing faster than what payroll is climbing.
In 2014, they made $229 million. In 2015, it hasn't come out yet, but they predicted $240 million. And the payroll went up $15 million this season.
It's the percentage. It's not just the amount of money, though.
But that's
You know
what I'm
what I mean?
saying. Like, if you only make $10 million more this year and go up $15 million. Now, I'm not saying that's correct because they could have made $250, $260 million. I don't know yet. But it's projected $240, so it's only a $10 million increase while spending $15 million more.
Wrap it. Boston, they spend all the money they want.
Believe it. Fans, any questions, comments, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Keep checking out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. Maybe Dash can figure out how to set it up so when you click subscribe, you hear a nice baseball home run.